Oh, look, another video on holes the Packers need to address on defense. Shocker. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. I just want a really good defense, just once. Just give me one. Grossi. And today, as a companion piece to yesterday's episode, which is obviously getting filmed back-to-back, I do shower. I do have hygiene. I'm not wearing the same sweatshirt 2 days in a row, even though I have done that, just not on camera. But yeah, I'm just recording this on Wednesday. I lost my train of thought. As a companion piece to yesterday's video where we looked at the offense and made the argument as to why that should be the priority in the 2021 NFL draft, today we're going to focus on the defensive side of the ball. And as I said yesterday, it would make sense that the defense is going to get the majority of the attention. They were not as high performing as the offense. We have a new defensive coordinator come in. There's a lot of unknowns. There's definitely positions that we need depth at. And today, this video is going to cover that. Now, in 2020, the Packers defense was not bad by any stretch of the imagination. We were 9th in overall yards, and we were 13th in points. Our run defense was improved, and on top of that, our pass defense, well, yes, looking at the NFC Championship game and at times, they have a really strong foundation with a great secondary. So it's not as much as a glaring need as it has been in previous years. And obviously, a couple of weeks ago, we did a top 5 positions that the Packers need to address during the draft. And a lot of those positions are going to fall on defense. Now, it's no surprise if you're a Packers fan that the Packers usually spend a lot of premium draft picks on the defense. And while we have missed out on a bunch of those, recently guys like Darnell Savage, Rashawn Gary, and of course Jair Alexander have all been hits. And right now, if you look at the Packers defense, they have a pretty damn good staple. You have guys like Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander, and of course Zadarius Smith. That's a great staple and foundation to build a defense around. And of course you have emerging players like Darnell Savage and Rashawn Gary who are also playing at a very high level. Now it's also important to recognize that we are most likely going to lose some key pieces on the defense. Guys like Preston Smith, Christian Kirksey, and also Kevin King could be gone. Kevin King's contract is up, so I'd imagine we are not going to re-sign him. And on top of that, Preston Smith and Christian Kirksey might just be cap casualties. And so today what we're going to focus on is if we lose those players in free agency, taking a look at these positions of need on defense and making the argument as to why the Packers need to address the defense more so than the offense in this upcoming draft. So starting off with inside linebacker, the position that is just a mainstay and feels like it will always be a position of need for the Green Bay Packers. If Kirksey is a cap casualty, I'm not going to say it's the end of the world because Kirksey, while he did make some plays, I would say underwhelming would be the word that was used there. The bright side is that we got guys like Kamal Martin. When healthy, he played pretty darn well. And Chris Barnes, an undrafted guy, really surpassed expectations. The problem is that neither of them have a ton of experience, and we need to see what they do in year 2 if they make that jump. If we lose Christian Kirksey, we really don't have a veteran presence at that position. And of course, going and drafting a rookie is not going to solve that problem either. However, spending a premium pick on inside linebacker would definitely be a change of pace for the Packers. On top of that, now more than ever, I would make the argument that inside linebacker should be the priority, considering that we brought in Joe Barry, who has a ton of experience as a linebackers coach. He coached up guys like Corey Littleton. Now, I'm not saying he can't do that with guys like Kamal Martin and, of course, Chris Barnes, but if you also gave him a premium pick to work with, then I think that's the best case scenario. Obviously, you could bring a veteran in from free agency, but you need to look at the Packers cap space or the lack thereof. And so because of that, that seems very, very unlikely. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, the Packers are definitely going to pick a middle linebacker or an inside linebacker because they just haven't in recent years, but who knows? Maybe things are a-changing. The second position of need is on that defensive line because our pass rush from our D linemen is not great. Not looking at you, Kenny Clark. You're perfect. You didn't do anything wrong. But the point is that guys like Montravius Adams, who was a day 2 pick, has disappointed, can't stay on the field, and when he was on the field, really wasn't that great. Dean Lowry, who got extended a couple years back, really hasn't lived up to that extension and also might be a cap casualty. What it comes down to is we just need another staple along that defensive line next to Kenny Clark. A lot of the pressure, if it's not coming from Clark, is coming from our outside linebackers like Za'Darius or Preston Smith, or guys even like Rashawn Gary. You do have guys like Kiki who have shown flashes but have not got a ton of playing time, and so there's some question marks there. This is a huge hole and problem for the Green Bay Packers, and I wouldn't be surprised if we wind up spending a day 2 pick on the defensive line. Now, obviously, people are talking about bringing guys like J.J. Watt, which, you know, would be a lot of fun, but we also have to look at the cap space and say, is that actually reasonable? Probably not. But if we have guys like Za'Darius Smith, Rashawn Gary rushing from the outside, Kenny Clark from the inside, and another guy there who can get after the quarterback, I mean, that sounds pretty good. And then finally, a position that I think is right up there with offensive line as the most likely to be drafted in the first round is cornerback. As I said before, we're most likely going to let Kevin King walk, as he has made some plays. However, he has struggled with injuries, and of course, he got burnt really bad in the NFC Championship game against Scotty Miller. Even though he did make plays in that game, I just don't see the Packers re-signing him. Of course, you have Jair Alexander, who is fantastic and wonderful, and I could just get lost in those eyes for days. Relevant? No, but I just wanted to mention it. But outside of that, there are a ton of question marks. The safeties are great. We don't have to worry about that part of the secondary. But corner, there's a lot of question marks. Josh Jackson, what the hell is going on with him? Has not developed, has been a healthy scratch for the majority of the season. It's not good. We brought in a veteran like Tramon Williams, who they barely utilize. He won't be on the team next year. You have guys like Kadar Holman, who haven't really seen the field a lot. And you have guys like Shannon Sullivan, who got roasted in the NFC Championship game. And the thing is, it's not like the Packers have ignored this position. We've gone after cornerbacks many times over the past few years in the draft. You have guys like Demarius Randall or Quentin Rollins, a day 1 and a day 2 pick. You also have guys like Kevin King, a day 1 pick. You have Jair Alexander, a day 1 pick. And Josh Jackson, a day 2 pick. And really, one of those has been really, really successful, and that's Jair Alexander. The Packers don't have the greatest track record with corners and picking them out of. However, that doesn't mean that we need to give up on that position. Considering all the question marks that are at that position and the fact that one of our starting corners is most likely not going to be on the team next year, yeah, the Packers need to go and get one real quick. We also just really need to hope that we hit on one. So, looking at you, Goody. So now that offense and defense have been addressed in both videos, my question to you is, which side of the ball do you think is the priority heading into this draft? Should they focus on the offense that was really good last year, but we are losing some key pieces? Or do we continue to improve on that defense and potentially get a dominant defense for this upcoming season? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.